Hello, my name is Kevin Patterson. I'm going to be talking about if living outside the United States is right for you. When I read about this presentation or what was going on tonight, I figured there'd be a lot of technology kind of people who have the luxury of picking where they can live. So I thought some of you might be curious about it. I'm going to go over the decisions you got to go through, the questions you got to ask yourself, and some of the things that you got to handle. First thing you would want to ask yourself is if you can handle living overseas. The United States is easy. We have 24-hour stores. We have Netflix, which brings videos to your house. We have a very safe society. We drive in our cars. It's a very easy place to live. We have gigantic grocery stores that have a meat aisle and a vegetable aisle, and you don't have to go to separate stores to buy meat here and vegetables there. So the first thing is it's easy. Second, culture shock is extremely difficult for a lot of people to work with. This is a really great book to read if you ever did want to go overseas. Read it and digest it. You'd want to ask yourself why you're going overseas, what are the reasons you're going. A lot of people go for just getting more bang for the buck. They want to be able to afford paradise and have a nice house on the beach or whatever. Some people go because it's cheap domestic help, which is kind of crazy. Another reason people go is they want to know, they want to give life some excitement. They want to get some zip in their life. They're kind of bored. They're running from something, which is kind of a joke, but also true. There's a lot of divorcees overseas and people who've had some bad experiences, and so they go overseas. So first, you're asking yourself why you're going overseas. Next thing you want to address is whether or not you're going to go all year round or just be like a snowbird. Things you'd want to consider is your medical concerns, what you want to do when you're overseas, what your interests are. These are all going to be a bunch of considerations that you should think about because that's going to help you kind of pick which country you want to go to. So once you've thought through why am I going overseas, do I want to go all year, now you're ready to start figuring out which country you want to go to. First thing you're going back to is why you're going overseas in the first place. If it's for cheap help, well, that's going to eliminate some countries. If it's for a sense of adventure, it's going to eliminate some countries. But there's other considerations as well. Do you want to work? Do you want to volunteer? How easy are you going to be able to deal with culture shock? Costa Rica is a lot easier to pull off if you've never lived overseas than maybe, Ecuador. So those are all things you want to think about. So now you've narrowed your list of countries to maybe 3 or 4 countries, and if you have the luxury, you'd want to visit those countries, kind of check them out, pick your top country, and live there for 3 or 4 months to see if you can really handle it, to see if you can take the culture shock and all of the difficult part of living overseas. While you're there, the most important thing is make friends with some of the locals. That's a lot harder, that's a lot easier said than done. People living overseas tend to be attracted to other Americans, and they end up gathering in these little expat communities, which is kind of tragic, really. Here's some logistics of things you'd want to do. Visit a real estate agent. Don't buy yet. Live there for 4 or 5 months so you get the lay of the land. And here's some countries to think about. First is countries that have lots of Americans already living there, extremely well-paved trails. It'd be very easy to move into those countries and move out. Mexico being the top one. This is countries that also have a lot of sort of infrastructure for foreigners or Americans living there, but not as well beaten trail, a little more deals that could be had. It's not as discovered yet. And then last is really off the most beaten trail. But these are countries, there's 192 countries on Earth. I could have listed all of them. But these are countries, all of them, that are trying to sort of attract Americans or foreigners to move into their countries and making regulations that are encouraging them to move into. Before you go, study the language. The more of the language you speak, the more easy it is to move into a place, the more you're going to enjoy it. Rosetta Stone, to give them a plug, is a fantastic software thing that helps a lot of people who struggled with language before. That's the most important thing. Other things to think about, though, before you go, this is just kind of logistics stuff, visiting a bank, figure out how to do international wires, go by your doctor, your dentist, get your papers and all that kind of stuff. And again, prepare yourself for culture shock. A lot of people go through it, it makes them miserable, they never get past the stage of kind of the discomfort of where they're living. A lot of folks think they're going to deal with culture shock well because they went over for 6 weeks in college and they think they can handle it. But living overseas versus 6 weeks or a semester abroad is a very different ball of wax. So those are the steps to kind of, very quickly address if you're going to move overseas, how you would go about doing it. And thanks for listening.